the TV as I'm doing this. All right, my friends at home, we had a little technical difficulty, so we are kind of starting over. So again, we were talking about our characters, and our characters are the people or the animals in the story. So there's my person, and then here are, here's my quick drawing of a puppy dog. All right, so to figure out who our characters are, remember we said we need to look at the words in the story or the pictures. So after we figure out the characters, we have to figure out a couple things. We have to figure out what they look like. So we want to go ahead and figure out that first. What do they look like? So what do they look like? So do they have dark hair, light hair? Are they tall? Are they short? But we also want to think about what they feel and what they think. So we ask who the characters are, we ask what they look like, what they feel, what they think, but then we want to ask why. So why do they think a certain way? So why do they think a certain way, and why do they feel a certain way? So again, we're going to look at this story here called Suki's Kimono. I'm going to move that just a little bit. Let's move that off to the side. All right, so my friends here at school, I want you to make sure that you are paying close attention, okay? So remember we said we know that this is Suki because we used the picture clue and we saw her name up in the title. All right. So on the first day of school, Suki wanted to wear her kimono. Her sisters did not approve. "You can't wear that," said Mary. "People will think you're weird." "You can't wear that," said Yumi. "Everyone will laugh and no one will play with you." "You need something new, Suki. You need something cool." But Suki shook her head. She didn't care for new. She didn't care for cool. She wanted to wear her favorite thing, and her favorite thing was her kimono. Suki's Obachan had given her the kimono. The first time Suki wore it, her Obachan took her to a street festival where they slurped bowls of slippery cold somen noodles and shared a cone of crunchy shaved ice topped with a sweet red bean sauce. So remember, we have to think, we know our character is Suki, and so we know how she feels about her kimono. We know that she loves her kimono. But why does she love her kimono? What did we say? She loves her kimono because someone special gave it to her, her Obachan, who, if I look at the picture, she does look maybe a little older, so it could be her grandma. So under strings of paper lights, or paper lanterns, Suki joined her Obachan in a circle dance. She followed her and copied her movements, trying to be as light and graceful. She watched the other women and children who danced, especially those who were dressed in cotton kimonos like her. Now, how does she feel about her Obachan? What do you think? Good. Okay, do you think she just really likes her and thinks she's like the best thing ever? Yeah. And you know how we know that? We know that because she copied her movement. So that means she's trying to dance just like her. And if you've ever seen, like, especially like a little bitty kid, like a 2 or 3-year-old, they try to copy other people because they think what they're doing is pretty cool. And so that's what she's doing here. She's trying to copy her because she thinks the best things about her. So now let's continue reading. Later, Suki sat so close to the stage that when the taiko drummers performed, Bum, 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 bum. She felt like she swallowed a ball of thunder, and her whole insides quaked and quivered. Before they left the festival, Suki and her Obachan stopped at a souvenir stand. There were many things to choose from, but her Obachan found the prettiest thing of all, a handkerchief of pale pink linen, decorated with tiny maple leaves and cherry blossoms. When she gave it to Suki, she said, "This will help you remember our day." Now it was time for school. Mother checked Suki's obi one last time and took a picture of Mary, Yumi, and Suki together by the front steps. Then as they watched, the three sisters made their way down the block to the school. Mary and Yumi stayed several paces ahead of Suki and pretended they didn't know her. So let's talk about her sisters here. So they pretended like they didn't know her. And so that's what they did. They were what they think of Sumi. If they don't want to be with her, do you think they're embarrassed by her possibly?
Yes.
Why are they embarrassed by her?
Because
Because of her kimono, right? Very good. So that's the reason that they're embarrassed. But Suki didn't mind. She turned and waved to her mother before she clip-clopped along in her shiny red gaita, feeling very pleased in her fan-patterned blue kimono. Once in a while, Suki would lift her arms and let the butterfly sleeves flutter in the breeze. It made her feel like she'd grown her own set of wings. How did she feel about her kimono?
good.
Yeah. How do we know that? Why do we know she feels good about it? McKinley.
Because she's happy and she has a smile on her face.
Very good. You're using those picture clues.
I have
Awesome.
a question.
Yes.
I think I know why her sisters are jealous because they don't have a kimono.
Maybe so. All right, let's continue on. When they reached the school, Mary and Yumi hurried across the yard to a group of their friends. Suki stopped and looked around. Some of the children turned and stared at her, and others giggled and pointed at her kimono. But Suki ignored them. She took a seat on a swing to wait for the bell. A girl dressed in overalls just like a pair Suki had at home sat on the swing beside her. "Hi, Suki," said the girl. "Hi, Penny," said Suki. "How come you're dressed so funny?" Penny asked. "Where did you get those shoes?" Suki lifted her feet off the sand and wiggled her toes. "I'm not dressed funny," she said. "My grandma gave me these shoes." Oh, remember we talked about her Obachan. It was her grandma. Suki started pumping her legs. After a moment, Penny did the same, and soon they were both swinging as fast and as high as they could. Swoosh, swoosh, up and up. All right, so who are our characters on this page here? Raise your hand if you know who our characters are. Oscar.
Suki and her sisters
Okay.
and her grandma.
Okay, but on this page we have Suki, and who is this girl here?
Her friend.
Her friend Penny. Right. Okay, so let's talk about what are they doing right now? Swinging. So how do you think they feel about each other?
Happy.
They're happy because are they? But if you're playing with someone outside at recess, does that mean you probably like them? Yeah. So that's how they think about one another. They are good friends. When the bell rang, Suki and Penny jumped off their swings and ran to the gym for the first day assembly. Once they were finally taken to their new classroom, Suki chose a desk near the window. Penny chose a desk next to Suki. As they waited for everyone to find a seat, two boys in front of Suki turned and snickered behind their hands. One of the boys reached over and snatched at Suki's sleeve. "Look at this," he said. "She's a bat." Suki felt her cheeks burn. But she did not respond. Instead, she concentrated on sitting up straight and tall, the way her obachan always did. It was easy to do with an obi wrapped snug around her middle. Her obi was golden yellow, and in its folds, Suki had tucked away her pale pink handkerchief. "Welcome to the first grade," said the teacher. "My name is Mrs. Paggio." She smiled. "Let's introduce ourselves and tell everyone what we did this summer." When it was her turn to speak, Suki stood up and told the teacher her name. "Hello, Suki," said Miss Paggio. "What did you do this summer?" "My grandma visited us," she said, straightening her sleeves. "She brought me my kimono and my gaita." Suki raised her foot to show the teacher her wooden clog. Somewhere in the classroom, someone laughed, but Suki took a deep breath and continued. "The best thing was that she took me to a festival, and there was dancing girls dressed like me, and they danced like me." She took a few steps and swayed her arm sideways. "Look, now she's dancing," someone said, but Suki didn't hear. She hummed the music she remembered hearing at the festival. She remembered how it felt to dance barefoot in the open air on fresh-cut grass that tickled her toes. She tried to picture the other dancers, how they moved forward in the circle with the rhythm of the music, how they stamped their feet first right, then left, swung their arms first up, then down, how they stepped back and back and back, then clapped. When Suki couldn't remember the next step, she made it up, just to keep dancing. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, stop. When she finished, the room seemed very quiet. Everyone was watching her. Suki sat down, wondering if she was in trouble. But Mrs. Paggio said, "That was wonderful, Suki," and she started to clap. Then, so did Penny, and after a moment, so did the entire class. After school, as the three sisters walked home together, Mary and Yumi grumbled about their first day. "No one even noticed my new sweater," said Mary. "No one even noticed my cool shoes," said Yumi. But Suki just smiled as she clip-clopped along behind them. Suki pulled out the pale pink handkerchief from her obi and held it up over her head to catch the wind. And in her blue cotton kimono and in her shiny red gaita, Suki danced all the way home. Boys and girls, you are now going to go to Seesaw and do your assignment.